And these players, some of them getting oh so close. 6 other players with 50% or more. Trevor Hoffman coming up just 5 votes short. Vladimir Guerrero, we thought he might go in first ballot.
Well, I mean, you look at that list right there. How does Guerrero not go in first ballot? I mean, you do the eye test. I played against this guy. He was intimidating in the batter's box. He was intimidating on the bases. He had the cannon in the outfield. So I'm going to put the sports writer on the spot here. How can he not be a first ballot Hall of Famer?
Vladimir Guerrero. I voted for him. But John's absolutely right. And sometimes the voters / the writers, they get it wrong. Vladimir Guerrero is a Hall of Famer. Just look at the guy's numbers. 10 years of 25 homers, more than 100 RBIs. And I stopped at 25 just because it's a round number. There were years in there where he was 38, 39, 42, 44 homers. This guy was a beast. I know it's easy for us to sit here and say, well, he'll get in next year. He deserved the honor of being a first ballot guy.
That's my whole point. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's going to be a Hall of Famer next year. But Pudge Rodriguez can say I was a first ballot guy. Guerrero, for some reason, can't.
I wonder how many hits he got that were balls out of the strike zone. He's unbelievable.
That's just what I was going to say. I think of him, and I think about the plate coverage. It really was unbelievable. It could be over his head. He'd swing. He woke up, and he just hit. And you talk about the eye test. I think sometimes people forget about that. They get too caught up in, I don't know if I want him to be a first ballot Hall of Famer or not. I don't think I can vote for him now. They forget how good he really was when he played.
I wonder if some of that mentality is changing, though, in the way guys vote. And back to Meredith's point in the previous segment, Jack, I want to ask you, do you feel that steroid wall is crumbling as the voting body gets younger? It just seems like some of the newer voters don't really care about the steroid issue because we saw gains by both Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens in the voting.
I think it is coming down. And after their first year on the ballot, when Bonds and Clemens were both in the low 30s, it was about 33 or 34%, I said, wow, these guys are never going to get in. It's a large climb to go from that to 75. Now I look at where both of them are today in the mid-50s, and I'm saying they are absolutely going to get in. And some of it is that the Hall of Fame changed the number of voters who had votes. Some of the old-time voters were stripped of their vote because they simply didn't cover baseball as much anymore. And like you said, Bob, it's the new voters. 14 first-time voters this year. 13 of them voted for Bonds and Clemens. And I reevaluate my ballot every year. I'm going to put a lot of deep thought into next year about whether I'm just going to give up the ghost and change and say, these guys, their accolades, their numbers, they deserve to be in there.
You just look at those numbers. It's so tough to leave them out, and it's easy to say, look, they use performance-enhancing drugs. But during that time, how do you know who did and who didn't? That's the biggest problem. And Flash, you'd probably be able to talk better about that. But there are so many guys that you wouldn't suspect that use stuff for recovery that you don't know of. Sure, you could look at those guys and say it's easy, but there are probably others in the Hall of Fame that used.
Yeah, I remember 1996, 1997, waiting for infield practice and sitting with a teammate, looking out on the field saying, I think. But we didn't know. I mean, nobody talked about it. It was suspected. And again, with these guys going into the Hall of Fame, Mike Piazza's a Hall of Famer, suspected steroid user. Bagwell now, Pudge Rodriguez. So I'm with Jack. I think Clemens and Bonds, there's a lot of momentum going their way. I feel bad for the guys who have the reputation that did it the right way. An ex-teammate of mine, Fred McGriff, kind of seems to be stalled. He's not gaining any momentum in the positive direction.
Yeah, Fred McGriff doesn't get enough love on the ballot. I agree with you, although I haven't voted for him. Quick final point from me on Bonds and Clemens is that, is there somebody in the Hall of Fame right now who used steroids? Can we unequivocally say that there's not? We can't. And talking to a bunch of people at the winter meetings started to get me moving in the direction that I might change my vote. I think that Bonds and Clemens put themselves out there to be punished. It doesn't bother me in the least that they've had to wait. But now when you think about some of the guys that have gotten in, as John has said, there's probably somebody in the Hall of Fame right now who used steroids.